Hey, this is Jamie at Stonemaier Games. I'm a few days ahead of when I'm actually going to film this top 10 video, but I made the list and it's on my mind because at Stonemaier Games, we've decided that if we can find the right game that fits this genre, a light, short, like 10 to 20 minutes at most, easy to teach, easy to learn, highly replayable, game that makes you feel clever in multiple ways, if we can find that right game, we are going to publish it. And so right now we're open to submissions for this type of game that's a little bit different than the type of game that we normally make. If you have fully designed a game like this that you think might be a great fit for the types of games I talk about in this video, look at our submission guidelines. We might publish your game at Stonemaier Games if it's the right fit. Thanks. Hey, I'm Jamie from Stonemaier Games, and today I'm going to talk about my top 10 favorite games that play in 10 to 20 minutes. They're super easy to teach and learn. The rules even can fit on the back of the box. They scale up to at least 7 players. They're highly replayable, and they give players different ways of feeling clever. So a lot of requirements that I'm thinking about for this specific type of game. Our ambassadors picked the following games more than once when I polled them on it. In Vino, Morte, 6 Nimmt, Antidote, Bang, Codenames, Concept, Wavelength, Flip 7, For Sale, Hellapagos, Herd Mentality, Hues and Cues, Just One, Ito, No Thanks, One Night Ultimate Werewolf, Scout, So Clover, Telestrations, That's Not a Hat, Wilmot's Warehouse, The Resistance, Tsuro, and Werewords. And Abagail, our digital gamer, picked Railroad Inc. Abagail said the digital version allows for 100% asynchronous multiplayer mode. You can invite your friends to play and get the same goals and dice for each round. My honorable mentions for this category are Wavelength, Hues and Cues, Ito, Wilmot's Warehouse, and Fun Facts. I love all those games. I would gladly play them, but they just barely didn't make my top 10. So let's jump into that top 10 and see what we're talking about. So at number 10, I have the Resistance Avalon. So in the Resistance Avalon, you are working on secret teams to go on missions, and the missions are very abstracted. It's just it's kind of a prisoner's dilemma type thing where you just need a certain number of you don't want to have a bad card in the mission. You don't want a fail card in there, and players are putting different numbers of cards into that mission to decide if the mission fails or succeeds. It's a game of suspicion, of distrust, and trying to deduct who is who in this game. There are secret roles that you can play, or asymmetric roles that you can play with, or you can just play with the basic roles from the game. I think this game scales up really well. It was a huge hit when it came out. It hasn't hit my table in a while, but I think I'd still have a lot of fun if it did hit the table. And so I wanted to feature the Resistance Avalon at number 10 on the list. And number 9 is a very new game, a game called Flip 7. So this is a game, a lot of the games that you'll see on this list have simultaneous actions. That's often what you need to scale up a game to 7 or more players and keep it in a reasonable time frame. Flip 7 doesn't have that. Flip 7 actually can go longer than 20 minutes, but you can stop at any time, really, when you're playing Flip 7. And it is a turn-by-turn game, but turns are very quick. On your turn, you are just deciding to take another card or not take another card. And the decision there is you don't want to bust. And if you take another card and it matches another number that you already have in play, then you bust and you don't score anything for that round. However, every different number that you have is worth that many points at the end of the round. So there's a huge incentive to get more and more points at the end of the round, and even a reason to get 7 total cards, hence the name Flip 7, because if you do, the round immediately ends, and no one else gets even the choice to take any more cards. So there's a really nice, and you get extra points if you do that. So there's a really nice decision space here of, do I push my luck a little bit? Do I not? In Flip 7 at number 9 on my list. And number 8 is Codenames, kind of the modern classic for this category. This is a game where there's actually cooperative and competitive versions or team-based versions of Codenames, where you are trying to guess, you're trying to give clues so that someone else can guess which of the cards on the table correlate to that clue. So I guess here, the example they give on the back of the box is the Spy Master says hot 2. So they're giving a 1-word clue and then a number, signaling to you how many words are related to that number. Hot 2. Can you find the 2 words related to that hot? So there could be hot honey, a hot dog, a fire is hot. Cats can generate a lot of heat. So you're trying to decide, what does this person mean when they give this clue hot? And we know they're saying there's only 2 cards out there that relate to that. So you're trying to pick those exact 2 cards. It is a game where you get to be clever in 2 different ways. One way as the clue giver, and one way as the team who's receiving and discussing that clue, trying to figure out which cards they are talking about. So that is Codenames at number 7. I'm sorry, number 8. At number 7 is Telestrations. Telestrations has been on my shelf for years, and it continues to hit the table because it is such a delightful experience. In Telestrations, it is essentially a game of Pictionary meets the childhood game Telephone, where you are typically, I like to start with writing the clue, ideally, because then that way you get to make the next person draw something silly. So you write a clue. This person wrote hen party, and the next person has to draw a hen party in 1 minute, and the next person has to write down what they meant by hen party, or by this drawing, and then it becomes something else, and it eventually becomes something else at the end. It is like some of the games on the list. It is more of an activity than a game, because you don't really win or lose at Telestrations. A win in Telestrations is if everyone had a good time and everyone laughed. Some of these games do have lose conditions that categorize them a little bit more as a game, but Telestrations is a delightful game/activity that I always laugh. I end up laughing when I play Telestrations. And it does scale up really well to higher player counts. I think I'd be a little hesitant to play it at lower player counts, actually, because you want that telephone line to go on as long as possible. So that is Telestrations at number 7. And number 6 is the other game on this list that has a turn-based decisions. This is No Thanks. So in No Thanks, you were just trying to have the fewest points, really, at the end of the round. Or no, you're trying to have I don't know, it's a little weird, but like if you have this 35 card at the end of the round, if you have bought it, you have 35 points. So yeah, you're trying to have the fewest points as possible in this game. You don't want 35 points. You want fewer points. And so on your turn in No Thanks, you flip up a card in the middle of the table, and or there's already a card on the middle of the table, and you are bidding to not take that card. You are putting one of your tokens on the table, and you're saying no thanks, or you are not doing that, and you are taking the card. So you can see here that a lot of these tokens have piled up on the 35. The nice thing about the points is they do give you the opportunity to say no to a card, say no thanks, and they are worth negative points at the end of the game. So say there are 20 of these tokens here. If I took this 35 here, at the end of the game, it would probably only be worth about 15 points because there's so many tokens right here. The other nice catch in No Thanks is that if I manage to get the 34 card, because it's sequential, 34 then 35, I only score the lower of the 2 cards. And so it really changes the value of sequential cards as they come up throughout the game. No Thanks, easy to teach. It meets all these requirements. Very quick, easy to play, delightful decision space in the game. It's the type of game that I often want to play more than once in a row, which is, I think, a testament to a great version of these games. That's No Thanks at number 6. And number 5 is Ink and Gold. There are many different versions of this game, different names of this game. My version actually looks nothing like this. I actually really like the art on this version, though. And in this game, you are simultaneously deciding to go deeper into a dungeon or a temple to gather a treasure that you split evenly as possible amongst all players, or to run out of the temple, the dungeon, and keep all the things that you've already gathered. You are trying not to reveal 2 identical hazard cards. So if I reveal 2 lava, if I reveal another lava, I would bust. Here in this game, it looks like there's a spider right here. There's a spider right here because they revealed a second spider. Anyone who was still going into the cave when this second spider was revealed, they bust and they lose any of the treasures that they had accumulated in that round. It's a 5-round game. It combines this nice sense of kind of exploration, like you're pushing your luck and exploring in this game, along with moments of hilarity where you didn't expect for a hazard to come out at this time, or when you go way deeper into the cave with maybe someone else or without someone else, when you kind of bluff to say I'm running out, but you don't actually run out. There's a lot of great, I don't know. I love this game. I love Ink and Gold. I've gotten to the table many, many times, and I think it does scale up to really any player count. This is one that I actually would play at even lower player counts, but it does scale up really well to 7, 8 players. This is Ink and Gold at number 5. The top 4 all fall into a fairly similar category. where the main, I think these all do a great job of accomplishing the goal of letting players feel clever in different ways. And number 4, I have So Clover. So in So Clover, you are given I have a non-English version here, but some of the words are similar to English words. So you were given a plastic mat here and 4 cards with holes in them, and you put those cards on your mat randomly, and then you need to write down a 1-word clue on each section that can help someone guess these 2 words. So for example, this one actually is in English, piano and lamp. I need to write down a 1-word clue that helps other people figure out the correct position of these 2 cards is right here where they are. And similar to one of the other games that we'll get to in a second, what you do next is you take all these cards. When it's your turn to have people try to guess what you put down on your mat, you take these cards off, you shuffle them up, and then you shuffle 1 or 2 other cards in with them, random cards. And everyone has to determine what are the 4 correct cards and exactly how should they be oriented in relation to the clue that you gave that connects those words, these 2 words, to the clue. So again, one of my favorite things about this category of game is when you get to be clever in 2 different ways. One way are the clues you give in this game, and the other way is when you're trying to help everyone else decipher the clues that other players have given. I really, really love that about So Clover at number 4. And number 3, similar aspect of being clever in 2 different ways. This is Just One, and this is an example of how Just One can be explained almost entirely on the back of the box. You draw a card, you select a word on that card, and if I'm talking about you can't actually see that card. So you've drawn this card right here. It says circus on it, or you've declared number 2. The number 2 word is circus. We all then need to give you a 1-word clue, just one, that helps you guess that the word is circus. With the catch being, that's this compare step, that if multiple people wrote down the same clue, before you open your eyes, we have seen that. We've seen that I wrote down clown and someone else wrote down clown. We have to put those clues face down. You don't get those clues. So you're trying to think of clues that are clever, but don't overlap with anyone else's clue. And then you open your eyes and you get to try to guess what the correct word was. Again, you get to feel clever in 2 different ways, in the giving of clues and also the receiving of clues, because that role rotates around the table. I love Just One. This is a fantastic game. Yeah, it was actually really hard to pick between the top 4 on this list because they are all so good at doing everything that I mentioned here. So that's Just One at number 3. At number 2 is Blob Party, probably the least known of this selection. Some of the games that I'm mentioning here, So Clover, Just One, have tens of thousands of ratings on Board Game Geek. Blob Party only has around 200, and it baffles me because this is such a delightful cooperative game. Where in Blob Party, again, back of the box, you reveal a category and a word. So 2 different stacks of cards. In this case, it's food and green. I know you can't quite see that, but I'll make it a little bit easier for you to see. Food and green. You reveal a category and a word, and then everyone simultaneously writes down as much as they want, something that they think is food and green that they think other people will write down. So you are acting beyond yourself. You're looking at other people and thinking, what will they write down for this? You share those clues. Here in this example, 2 people wrote down apple, 1 person wrote down broccoli. The 2 people who wrote down the same word become a blob. So they blob together. They literally use Play-Doh here to combine the Play-Doh into a single blob. And the goal of the game is within a limited amount of time, usually around seven cards, 7 clues, that everyone becomes part of the same blob. This game I've played with the actual player count in the box, which I believe is around 8. 4 to 8 players. But I've also played, you can combine this with any of these other whiteboard games. You play an even bigger player count. So you can play with a giant room of people, which is delightful to play Blob Party with. This was one of my favorite games of 2023. I continue to love it, continue to get it to the table. This is Blob Party at number 2 here. The only reason it isn't a number 1 is probably, at least to a certain extent, because I've been having so much fun with Caution Signs, my number 1 pick, a 2024 release, one of my favorite games of 2024. And Caution Signs, again, back of the box, you can see how it works. Every person, 1 person is the person who's guessing in this round, and everyone else is pairing 2 cards together, an adjective and a noun. They don't get to look at them until a 20-second timer starts, and then they have 20 seconds to draw what those things are saying. So in this case, it is a flexible cow. This person is trying to draw, here we go, trying to draw a flexible cow in 20 seconds, which is surprisingly difficult. That amount of time, it goes very, very quickly, but it adds to the hilarity. You don't have time for a great drawing. You don't have time to remember exactly what a cow looks like. You're just trying to draw something that looks like a cow and looks a little flexible. And then similar to Clover, you take all these cards and you mix them all up along with some decoy cards. And then the guesser tries to guess where the cards go. The only step that I skip here is step 4. This game adds scoring to the game. I think it actually works better as a cooperative game where the goal of the game is to have a perfect round where the guesser guesses everything correctly. So the guesser is going to take these cards and pair them with the right drawings. They're going to try to do that perfectly. I think if you just do steps 1, 2, and 3 here, that is the perfect version of caution signs. I guess if you're a really competitive group and you want to play with points, you can do that too. But I think it is more fun to play caution signs cooperatively, similar to Blob Party Just One and Clover. And we have had an absolute blast playing this game that way. So caution signs is my number 1 pick for this list. And again, I'll reiterate that this category is about games that play in 10 to 20 minutes. They're super easy to teach and learn. The rules even fit on the back of the box. They scale up to 7+ players. They're highly replayable, and they give players different ways of feeling clever. In caution signs, you get to feel clever as the drawer and as the guesser at different times in the game. That's my list. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this category of games. What are some of your favorites that meet all of those requirements? You can't meet just some of them. They have to meet all of those requirements. Let me know your favorites in the comments below and why you picked them. Thanks.